All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Kaguya-sama, Love is War, Season 2, Episode 11.
All right,
We're gonna
Ishigami.
get some Ishigami focus me
Yeah,
things.
some more. We've been continuing
yes.
to do it a lot through Ino Miko being involved in the story and seeing that she, in her lawful good, lawful,
earnest,
good, just justice, didn't like the way that Ishigami was being treated so unfairly by the faculty, in addition to the actual students.
Yeah.
And while, she doesn't necessarily know, what went down, and maybe in some ways none of us do exactly, because it's all kind of hearsay.
Ishigami didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But time for a tournament arc.
Yes.
Of harem love interests for Ishigami.
Yes, indeed.
Because he does have a few of them by now. And time for them to throw down. Yeah,
we did see him smile when Kobachi cheered him on, or when he noticed that Miko was there watching him as
even
Kobachi
though she
cheered
was
him on.
very sternly not cheering him on.
That's
because
true.
Yeah. And then of course maybe Chika will make some crazy appearance.
Well, Chika being involved just in general will lead to some kind of hijinks or shenanigans.
But that girl was there. That is definitely not totally the girl that he used to have a crush on. Yeah,
thankfully also the Miyuki and Kaguya stuff, or Miyuki and Shinomiya stuff is mostly kind of underway and kind of segregated off to a different area of the contest with regards to the sports festival and such.
Right.
Because that was where we had the Mr.
Shirogane.
Yes,
ask Kaguya about her feelings for Miyuki.
Kono Tosenda.
Yeah. You had to choose between love or hate. What are your feelings?
Yes.
And then of course, Miyuki shows up, denies that he knows him, and then he says, "No, I'm just dad."
I'm his dad. Yeah. Exactly. At least Miyuki wasn't embarrassing himself too much like he did in the previous episode. No, okay. No. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Whoa.
This episode, y'all. This episode broke my heart, made my heart fly with warmth and joy.
Man.
And I'll never be able to see Ishigami the same again. Because
I don't think he will either.
It's so precious to see a character that, you hadn't gotten as much characterization on in the past, kind of get that big jolt of, backstory, characterization, depth, motivation, all this extra stuff. And to have it in such a heavy emotional package is tough to experience. But what's so cathartic about this is that every single thing that could have gone right from this point onward went right for Ishigami.
Yeah.
Almost down to the point where he even won the whole relay race there.
Well, and in my mind, that actually was the best thing that could have happened.
Because of how they responded and came
because
up to
of
him.
how they responded.
Yes.
Because he wouldn't have been able to see their response.
Well, right, but they would have responded too if he won. It would have just been a different type of response.
No. I know. But the way Ishigami would have seen it would have been totally different.
Sure.
Because anyone can celebrate when somebody wins, right?
Oh, I see.
That's easy, right? But when you can celebrate and say good job when they don't win, that's a whole other thing entirely, right? And that shows their character.
He sees it as failure because his whole thing was every time I stick my neck out, I fail or I get hurt or something like that. And this is something that is a very relatable part of people's growth in general is fear of failure. There's a point in our lives where we're given the opportunity basically to fail. And when I say given the opportunity, it's actually an opportunity. It's a privilege to be able to try something that you won't have a high chance of succeeding at, because it puts that opportunity in front of you to go, okay, when I fail, how do I respond to this?
Right.
Now, this guy ended up getting, in some ways, a huge deck stacked against him because he ended up bumping into a a complete, Machiavellian, like, sociopath here with just absolutely no morals, and also like some borderline like illegal stuff going on. Like this guy was absolute trash. Like, and Ishigami was not prepared to go into a mental, emotional sparring match with this guy. So he laid into him. And I gotta say, like, I've never been in a serious fight in my life or anything like that. But I was so proud of Ishigami in some ways, just that he was willing to just be like, I don't care about my reputation or anything. In some ways, it was just impulsive and it wasn't the smartest thing to do.
Right.
But I can't imagine how many of us out there encounter people like this and wish we had the stupidity or the guts, if you will, to just just beam them in the face. Because oh my god.
And it goes to show that yes, when they end up doing that whole romance subplot with him and Ino, it is going to be wonderful because they really do share that sense of justice. Even if it is, it maybe shows itself in different ways.
It's layered. Right. It's layered.
It's not so simple and straightforward.
Ishigami's is not has not been allowed to flourish for a while because he doesn't trust people.
Yep. And that's why they will be such a good pair, because they will complement each other great. Because while he goes and maybe he's learned to do things differently now, and he won't just start decking the person straight up.
I don't think he can.
Right, I don't think he can.
In a negative way.
Right. But if he did, you know that Ino would run and get one of those like riot control things, and and help out.
Well, yeah. She's also pretty lawful good, so it'd also be like she'd use it on Ishigami first, probably.
Sure, maybe, but yeah, she would have his back,
I love that Ishigami, the character who basically was chastising everyone else for their normie stuff, ends up joining the cheer squad, which is something that I think you and I each have kind of an example of a thing like this, where we join a club of like a specific type of creative expression that's kind of
not
completely different for our style of thing, but we end up learning so much from it. For me specifically, it's with regards to dance. Like, there was
yours too?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just mine was quite a ways before yours and stuff. Just being older and stuff like that. But I very much got a lot of confidence out of that. There is so much to be gained when you're dancing and you're willing to mess up. Because I think why most people don't jump on the dance floor specifically is either they're afraid of looking stupid, or they know just enough about dancing to know how much they can mess it up. Okay. And then it's a fear of failure type of thing. But instead of it being a how other people will see me, it's a how I will see me kind of thing. And I had multiple points in that dancing thing where people would just pull me out of the sidelines. And it was like, it was the best feeling.
I'll bet, yeah.
Oh my God. It did so much for my confidence,
Nice.
But
yeah, this episode was really something else, because like Kaguya as a show, right? It is absolutely amazing. Right, it blows me away every episode, and I'm like, how can it possibly get better? And then it does.
It's just quality.
It's just so quality at its finest, right? This is something that we rarely get to enjoy, even within the realm of Kaguya.
Totally,
because the conflict most of the time, even if it is very heartfelt, it is very whimsical, right? It's lighthearted and and fun and just wonderful, right? Lots of warm fuzzy feelings.
Absolutely.
But I can't remember a time, except maybe at like the end of the first season, where it went into this like, oh, this is serious stakes here, like with Kaguya's dad, and it's like
to the characters,
and in this case here, because it's something where Ishigami, he has a bunch of people all around him. But because it was focusing so much on his perspective, it's easy to forget, right, and to maybe think that the other people around him, and that's why the whole reveal later that they came and found out what really went on and pulled him out of his room. I love that so much, not just with the fact that happened, but with where that was positioned in the episode, because I could I was excusing like everyone else, Kaguya and Shirogane, as they don't know.
They're ignorant.
Right?
Yeah.
They're ignorant, right? They don't know that this is happening, so they're trying to be helpful, and yet it's not helping. And so Ishigami is kind of making himself alone in this. He's hiding behind his hair. He's, like all of this stuff, right?
Yep.
So this might actually go badly.
Yep.
Because even if Ishigami isn't alone, he thinks he is, and then what's going to happen here, right? Yep. But nope, they're awesome. They know his situation, and they figured out what was going on way back when, and they realize that he's having trouble here, and they meet him where he's at, and they help him out, and it's wonderful and awesome, and
it's so wholesome.
And Ishigami's vindicated, and I love it.
It's so wholesome. I think that one of the freakiest things about growing up, especially around that age, 12, 13, 14, like that's their junior high, right? Because high school for them starts at 15.
Right.
So he was either 13 or 14 around that time.
Yep.
And at that time, you're just getting into puberty. You're just kind of hitting into that like maturation stage of where you're like starting to put away some of the childish kind of things here and there. But the way he said, I'm pretty sure he said still, like this is the part that just kills me, is
talking about his sense of justice.
His sense of justice, yeah.
I think it was near the very beginning.
No.
Oh, yeah.
At the time. So instead of still, it's saying at the time I had an excessive sense of justice and no tolerance for crap.
Right.
So,
yep.
There are so many people I know who I've seen grow from that stage of their life to, adulthood and stuff like that. And there's so many things about them that are tuned up quite a bit around this age. It's kind of like the youthful idealism.
Yeah,
it's
everything's black and white.
Yeah, exactly. It's very extreme. But there's something pure and innocent about it that is, while immature, not tempered with balance and stuff. And
it's
wisdom,
certainly sincere.
It's certainly sincere. And this is an instance of it where it dies so quickly. Yep. Because one of the things that I grew up with was a specific thing of feeling like I was constantly starting to get aware of how people would lie.
Sure.
And I couldn't separate the idea of what was healthy as a small little lie, the idea of an exaggeration. Someone's passionate about something, so they stretch the truth a little bit because they're not thinking about numbers and factoids and stuff like that.
Right.
And I couldn't separate in my mind the difference between someone being manipulative and lying versus someone being like, someone that's
just
stretching
really excited
the truth. And and doing it in some way that has no malevolence or any kind of malicious intent or what have you. And if you end up basically like being in a situation where you're like, hey, don't lie to me, and that person is like genuinely unaware that they're lying or something like that, it can start to twist your idea of what makes a lie. So in this case here, he's saying I had an excessive sense of justice and no tolerance for crap. I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to lead to pain. That's going to lead to pain because the world isn't so black and white. And yet I know where this type of feeling comes from. It's the thing of where like, no, there are people out there, there are good people that don't deserve to have to deal with the shit of the Oginos out there.
Yep.
And so he's got that little bit of guard dog in him. He's got that little bit of, I sensed injustice. So he puts his nose into something that's not his business. He gets involved. Yes, if he didn't get involved, then he wouldn't have had any of this happen.
Yep.
And there's a possibility. We know that the reason why he was brought into the student council was because of his specific talents that he had. But we don't know if he would have honed those talents if not for this. We don't know if they would have focused on him in a way of being like, hey, let's help this kid out.
Right.
Well, if this instance hadn't happened here.
Well, and also I get the feeling that there's maybe, even though it wasn't necessarily said, that there's something sort of implied deeper beyond just he'd make a good person to run the finances, right? Because he's a smart guy, right? He can crunch the numbers well. But the idea that because they found out what was the real situation with that whole thing,
right?
Then it's you're also a person of character.
You're a person of character and high integrity.
Because one, when you have someone managing the money, you want them to be a person of character.
Oh my God, yes.
Like you don't just want someone who can run the numbers, right?
Yep.
Because they could game the numbers. They could do all kinds of things, right? You want someone who is honest almost to a fault, right?
Oh,
nice. And they found a way in which he believed in something,
right? And
he stood up for that thing that he believed in to a fault, right? He was honest to a fault. He didn't issue a fake apology. Like he wasn't sorry to Ogino. He was sorry about some of the other stuff that happened, right? But he wasn't sorry to Ogino, so he didn't write the letter,
right?
And
what's so cool about the sequence of events is that we barely met Ogino and Kyoko, and yet the way they plotted out the directions of these characters, lives specifically, is something that's rather fascinating. And I am curious, and I want to just basically have someone in Discord or the comments or what have you just pass this along to the mods so we can find out what they were talking about here. But when Hayasaka was like, "So was Ogino your doing?"
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. Was Ogino denied access to the school?
Or just making it at least so that he would transfer. I think that's what it was.
Maybe.
Because Kyoko transferred away probably after the breakup, right? And because of just all the drama around the whole situation, since everyone believed that Ishigami had been stalking her, even though it was probably just because of her stupidity, because she hadn't really seen any evidence of that until then. So the fact that Ishigami, there's that, even though there was the whole fight with her boyfriend at the time. So, yeah, I'm guessing.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was the transfer thing because she thought by coming here that this was a golden opportunity to get back together with Ogino, only to find out he transferred to another school. Right. So she's like, "Oh, but I did see Ishigami." So ended up bumping into him and telling him what for.
Right.
And Kaguya's like, "No, I wouldn't.
Never
be so cruel."
Yeah.
So I like is that it's kept vague in that regard. Is that you could be like, well.
Yeah,
who knows? That it's not important, really.
But there's also, this is something that would have happened long before this. So odds are that Kaguya had that happen once she found out the truth of the situation, and then she just decided to make him go to another school, after she found out the what really went down with Ishigami, because that's the kind of thing that wouldn't just happen instantly. And, Kaguya wouldn't have known that she would end up coming here for the sports festival, which also I'm really glad that they had that there because that's a nice way to explain why she came here in the first place.
Right.
Because from the previous discussion with what we saw in the previous episode, it made me think that she didn't hold any ill will towards Ishigami, given the fact that she showed up. Right? Like, why would she be here if not for that fact? But yeah, that's right. She was the one who transferred, so she's coming back not for Ishigami, but for someone else. But then that's still the reason why we can have that opportunity for Ishigami to get vindicated and have all that stuff.
But think about the type of ways in which this little chain reaction of events plotted out so many things for the specific characters. So Ishigami gets into this fight, this scuffle, and ends up beating the crap out of Ogino here. Ogino threatens him by using
Kyoko.
Kyoko, but using the stuff that he has also kind of on her as kind of what I can do. She gives her body to me. She's able and willing to be that intimate with me, so I can do whatever I want to her, and you can't stop that. And that is sick.
Yeah.
Just so that shows the level of reason why he wouldn't say anything.
Right. And it also seemed like I may have gotten the wrong implication, but when he showed him his phone, it didn't seem like he was showing him like her phone number or something.
No, he was showing him like naked,
pictures
naked
or right. Yeah.
That was why they didn't show it on the
that's
screen.
What I figured. Yeah.
And that's, by the way, that's dangerously close to being illegal. So that's the kind of thing of where Ogino was already trash basically in this regard, but he escalated even more by being like, "Oh no, look what I've got."
And by the way,
trying to use that.
Ishigami good job for having this be something done in private, because one, it's something where you make it so that he doesn't have to save face, right? You can have an honest conversation with him. But two, if it was something where it wasn't in private, you probably wouldn't have even gotten him to admit to the fact that, you know, he was cheating on her. So
totally,
like it was something where it both made things go the best possible way for uncovering just how much of an awful person he was, but also giving him the best opportunity, if he turned out to not be an awful person, to make things clean, right. And to come clean.
Yeah, Ishigami was, I would say, quite honest and bold in the idea that he went to him directly. Yeah,
it didn't turn out well for Ishigami as a result of that, right? But that was still something...
That was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It might not have been the smart thing to do to get involved without talking to someone else first.
Sure.
Because what I usually do...
Like ask someone for advice of
ask
like, hey,
someone a little bit older for advice and basically be like, hey, I'm 14. I don't know what's going on, but my friend, I think, is... Well, not my friend. My friend is being cheated on by someone else.
Right.
What do you think I should do here? And they'd be like, well, you should talk to the person who's doing the cheating, but you should also talk to the person who's getting cheated on.
Yeah.
Just so that they know that you're aware of something maybe going on. But the order in which you should
2020,
do it,
like
exactly.
But you know, it's
tricky. You don't know exactly the best way to do it.
And especially when you're 14, it's like, how, you know,
Yeah. But let's go. I want to talk about the plotting of this. The fact that then she ends up breaking up with him because, and this is what they had Miyuki kind of predict here, was that because Ishigami did not respond with the apology, that created a lot of fear and paranoia within Ogino, which might have been an extra bit of reason as to why Kyoko and Ogino broke up.
Right. But they did say that Ogino broke up with her.
Okay, cool. But that's... Again, that's just bringing out the point that Ogino broke up with her because of the paranoia induced because of this whole incident and the fact that he didn't immediately apologize, meaning he's thinking, oh crap, I need to separate myself.
Did I seriously piss this guy off in a way that's going to come back to bite me?
Ruin my my life in some way?
Because that's the thing when you resort to like dirty tricks and things like that, and you end up needing to check over your shoulder, because then you assume that everyone else is going to be doing the same kind of things that you do, right? So you know, it's for those reasons why, you know, Miko would it would never be able to tell a lie, you know, if someone were to say it to her face, and why, you know, in this situation you do get scared.
Right. Because he ended up not being able and willing to apologize, though, it ended up shaping so much of his experience with, I believe, a very ill-equipped school counselor who should just be fired. This guy's awful at his job. One of the most important things to have in any kind of counselor's position is a high reserve of patience, especially when you're dealing with kids. Yeah. That just feels like basic level, entry level stuff.
And sadly, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Japan, but usually the positions that are held in schools are usually need to work with what they have, you know? And so like,
so just some teacher ends up filling in the role, with no actual formal training.
Yeah, and maybe they have some formal training, but not nearly as much as like someone that is a dedicated counselor for like their main profession, like, you know, not tied to a school.
Yeah, I love how much better it's gotten in like the last decade with regards to this specific area with counseling. But because of that, Ishigami ends up cloistering himself, ends up shutting things down, and ends up really spiraling out of control here. He ends up being labeled as the crazy one. Right. Now, he ends up accepting over the course of this that, I am the crazy one. And that's the part that breaks my heart in this whole process, is when you're told over and over again that, no, you're the crazy one. Sometimes in order to just survive, you just have to like accept that, oh, I guess it must be me. Yeah.
Right. Because at that point, it's either I'm crazy or I'm living in a crazy world. And the thing is that you can't deal with a crazy world. If the whole world is crazy, you're screwed, right? And growing up, it's all about being able to, you know, adjust to the demands of society, right? On your own, right? Because you don't have, you're getting more separate from your parents and, becoming your own person and things like that. So if suddenly the whole world is crazy, what the hell are you supposed to do? Well, then just hope that there is some kind of logic to the world out there and adjust in whatever way you have to, even if it's in a way that you shouldn't have to.
God, I just loved the way they presented how tough this was for him to do the apology letter. The fact that it took him this long is so good, because this is also a reinforcing of the idea that his sense of justice didn't completely die, but it did get basically stunted, buried, and forgotten.
Because it was his sense of justice that wouldn't let him write the letter, because he knew that was something that he was doing out of vindictiveness, not actually because he wanted the truth to be out. So he couldn't bring himself to do it. He wrote it again and again and erased it every time.
Yeah. And then when we finally get to seeing that Miyuki comes in and is the light for him there, they didn't go that deep into actually why they ended up doing this in-depth investigation into this whole thing here. But I love the idea that the group of them, Chika included,
I see those flowers together. On it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They came together and figured this stuff out. And Miko is also, even more in the background to be, involved here with regards to the whole how he actually moved on into high school and stuff.
Yeah, because there was something, since that happened in junior high, right? And Ino and him were at the same school. I can't remember because it was in a previous episode, but there was something where Ino was going to...
that's what I was saying,
going to the teachers being like...
She basically was like, no, you can't hold him back. That's what it was.
That's right.
Yeah. She was basically saying, no, that's too far. Let his work, let his effort speak for himself and get out there. This is the thing. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He is a genius at the data stuff. That's why they also brought him in with regards to this.
Yep.
But he made it into the super advanced, prestigious school that they're all at there.
I think he
because of his actual intelligence and stuff.
I think he might have already been at Shuchin because the girl Kyoko ended up coming back to Shuchin High School to try and find Ogino, and then he transferred away apparently. So it was probably that it was the same academy.
Oh, so it's just a junior high version of it, basically?
I think so. I think that's what's being set up here. But still, that makes sense. That's impressive, right? Because
But I totally could see it being a thing where it's, if you don't have the snuff, you have to go to a different school because she wasn't able to.
Yep.
She was like, no, I didn't have the grades to be able to get in here.
Right.
Just because you start out in it doesn't mean you're guaranteed it in high school.
Exactly.
Because high school for Japanese, stuff it's serious. Like you're practically going into it with the same level of stuff that we go to with regards to college.
And especially if you're talking about a really prestigious school.
That's my point. Yeah.
So,
but the fact that he comes in, Miyuki is his light, absolutely shines in this whole thing here. We get this emotional, cathartic bit there, and then
Urusei Baaaaaaka.
The big bold letters on the thing, that Urusei Baaaaaaka, and then the way Ishigami delivers it to her. Right after this, he's like, she's completely ignorant of this. And even though he was trying to protect her smile, he has the confidence and the assuredness because of what his friends have done for him and how much he's not alone in this to tie that headband tight and just deliver the best Baaaaaaka.
Also,
Also,
one of the things that I loved about this is all the things that she's saying to him is, he dumped me because of you. It's all your fault. That's what he was trying to get him to do anyways.
Yep.
So even though she's saying it with venom in her voice, it's
good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because she's ignorant. She doesn't know. That's why I think what's brilliant about her character is that she never found out.
Right.
And that's good in a lot of ways.
And she didn't even really have reasonable evidence other than the fact that Ishigami attacked her boyfriend.
Right. And I think that this is what's in some ways really precious about the dynamic here is that we can very much levy all the you're a bastard, I hate you.
Yep.
But Kyoko, we can't really hate her that much.
Right. We can hate her a little bit that she didn't ask. She didn't give Ishigami not the benefit of the doubt, but a chance to basically explain what was going on. Right.
Right.
Now, granted, he didn't exactly say things in the best ways either.
Exactly.
But the fact that that's something where it's like, oh, come on.
But let's be real. Most of us would have played things out very similar to Ishigami if we were dealing with Ogino.
And most people would have played things out very similar to Kyoko. Even if we would like to think that we would have done it differently, if you've got your significant other there saying one thing, right? And especially when you're young like that, you're stupid, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone else around you is also chiming in on that. Just going against the crowd in general is tough to do, right? Yeah. But when it also involves someone that's very close to you, it's even harder. Because if she had, that would have basically that would have been a breakup at that point. Basically.
And Ogino would have turned a lot of this at her out of just spite.
Yep, definitely.
So in this case, it makes perfect sense that it went this way. But I also think just seeing, because this is something I don't think most people are really ready for at that age. Ishigami didn't just punch him once.
Yeah.
Ishigami was on top of him trying to make his face unrecognizable. So we can look at that and go, yeah, Ishigami. But imagine if you're looking at it from her perspective. And this guy who you'd been a little nice to, but you don't really know him that well.
Yeah.
Is not punching your boyfriend a few times.
Right.
But he's laying into him constantly. Are you going to listen necessarily to that much of what he says, especially
Not
at age
really.
13 or 14?
Nope.
No. I am astounded at just how this all maneuvered things specifically to put Ishigami into this place so that when the actual story leads to the normie squad coming around him and having these cheers and stuff, we know why this means so much more to him, not just from the acceptance angle of him being a part of the group there,
right?
But he's able to act a little crazy, go a little wild, have goofy fun with it.
Oh man,
and that's okay. It's so powerful when you find your group. And your family, your found family that just that just lovingly comes around you in all the most ridiculous ways.
Yep, there's
Stupid
a reason.
Cheers and all,
There's a reason that whole found family trope is just okay, let's have another one. The whole bit at the very beginning of this episode when they do the whole oh no, we switched bodies and everything, and they're doing the cheer, and Ishigami is having a great time, and it's yeah, this is awesome. And then there's that part where you're knowing oh God, this is... And then she shows up and he just hears her voice and immediately is he knows who it is. He hasn't even seen her yet, right?
Static.
And it's all done, right? The dream is collapsing, the fairy tale is broken,
I loved how they tied the fuzziness and staticky thing with regards to the presentation of this across the individual moments. Because it starts off with him hearing her voice, right? But then he mentions in his narration of the whole thing of the next few bits were fuzzy. And that's when he punches Ogino. But the thing is that we don't really see it as much there. It's more of that he tells us and it looks a little bit like that. And then they cut to him beating on him already, and it was we didn't even get to see that much of the fuzzy part. We just know that it was. Then when everyone's no, you're crazy, they change the aspect ratio of things. The whole
oh
my God,
Ishigami's whole world was getting shattered and destabilized at that point. Yep.
There's so many little moments in this episode that were just fantastic. I think that this is one of, if not the best episode of the show with regards to just the character drama stuff.
Yeah,
there are some episodes that are just so funny that they rival this one.
It's a totally different style. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Each episode, it's okay, by now, I've started to be all right, I admit this show will just keep one-upping itself, even though it doesn't logically seem like there should be any way for it to be able to do it. And then
it's just that good.
And then this happens, and it's okay, now we could one up ourselves because you know we can do that, and we have done it over and over, right?
Right.
But what if we like one-up ourselves in a completely different way?
Yeah.
What if we're just like, yeah, this is a great rom-com and it's hilarious and wonderful and an absolute gem, but what if we did something different? What if we made it a drama for an episode?
Oh my God.
And just made it one of the best drama episodes you can think of, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
yeah. I loved when he looks at them and things leave the fuzziness angle and he's like, oh, I'm fine. I didn't even bother to look for that. Was taking a good look. All it took for the view to change so much. And then it does seem that genuine normies are genuinely nice people. This is something that I feel like is so powerful in terms of just a moment for a character. But I took something really just heartwarming out of this, is that this really reminds me a lot of A Silent Voice, with a part where a specific character
finally looks up and their view and the way they see all the people around them just completely changes. And the fact that this was done in just an individual episode, right, set up and concluded and
everything. I mean, they did set up a little bit of it with
it was foreshadowed so that we knew it was coming, right?
Yes, when we saw things from his perspective with regards to the faces of people and stuff like that. Also, something else I thought was rather cool with when he actually joins the normie squad, the cheer squad and everything like that. It was a random girl that came by and was just like, hey, you're so-and-so. Like just trying to kind of ingratiate him into the group and stuff. And you could see his kind of cold response to the whole thing there. He's like, I've seen this whole thing before. Like,
wow. That's right.
I'm now unfamiliar with.
So now here's my question.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, the blonde girl in the cheer squad was also the one that was like, why are you having fun? Wasn't she the one who brought it up like before, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that she is a part of the normie group, right? And a part of that statement of apparently, normie people can be good people too, right? That I think is really interesting because it's something where, one, it's a shift in Ishigami's mind. It's something where hopefully there was enough of a shift in her mind from seeing him doing this, but then also seeing how he responds, because she would have recognized the girl too.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
She would have totally recognized her.
Yeah. And
she basically, because of how Ishigami carried himself, because he basically, stuck to his guns and said, Urusei, Baaaaaaka, right? She was able to maybe see, maybe I was wrong. Maybe the rumors weren't quite right.
Yeah. Because if we go with the angle that, these are all people that would have followed the same class, all along. Yeah, they've been in the same kind of atmosphere of gossip surrounding him this whole time. So it's just fed into itself constantly. And just to have all these people come around him who, some might know about the stuff, some might not. Despite all that, it's just really special. Yeah. I can remember like those times. Remember when you were like in the group dynamic of like the specific thing, like if it was dancing or something like that, but you did something and you made it past a specific milestone and you got any kind of positive reinforcement from it from other people, where they're like, good job, like, oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And you're just like, stop it. Right. Oh my God. Like, I played baseball and sucked at it. I had probably about like 180 batting average or something like that, and my on-base percentage was like 500 or something. So I was mostly just walking, if anything, like half the time. But the one time I actually hit an inside the park home run, like people just came around me like crazy because it was just like this moment of like they were even like kind of laughing at it, like, who knew Caleb could actually hit hard, And I was just like, stop it. I'm like, it's just because that part of the field doesn't have a fence and it rolled a bit longer, that is, and that those little moments and stuff like that with the group kind of coming around and lifting you up, and they're not all necessarily individually doing it because they wanted to do it. They're kind of moving with the mob, the crowd and stuff, right? but the feeling from it is still so effective and so good. So
and also, I just want to say, now, granted, it was also something that was because of your physical capabilities, Ishigami, that they knew of, but the captain, he went to you. Now, yes.
We heard you were fast.
Yeah, we heard you were fast, but it was also something where it's, oh yeah, Ishigami, I can depend on Ishigami.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good feeling.
That is a good feeling. But y'all, what are they going to do next?
Inomiko, Ishigami, kiss, fall in love.
Oh my god. Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yes, we wrote a sci-fi novel called Battle Lines. It's super awesome, and it's on Amazon. The link is in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.